Yo, what is up? It's Sterls for the girls. Got my dog, Anthony Romeo, NY. What's good with you? My homie. He's always here with me. Rob T Radio. What's good with y'all, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, you know, it's a Tuesday night. Boy, do we got some stuff to talk about, man. We got stuff to talk about.
You're flossing on that camera angle there. The
what
skin
you mean?
Looks nice. You got a nice little, you can see more of your face.
The shapes, it does look good.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell. Yeah.
Hey, your boy looks good. Hey, man, I'm 26 pounds down, baby, 27 pounds down.
All right.
Hey,
nice,
healthy choices, so you get the glow on,
Okay, all right. No wonder it's Sterls for the girls.
Today. Man, it's good to see y'all's face, man. So much has been happening, Buffalo Bills related. I feel like, we gotta dive into it. I will say this before we get going. This is probably the most exciting season. Now Rob's gonna talk some shit, but this is the most exciting season that I've had as a Bills fan in quite some time. I mean, like the possibilities here, they're endless, and it could end up very, very, very good for us. So let's start with. Let's get the laundry. Let's get the laundry out. A couple things. Michael Vick, man. Michael Vick took a job today with Norfolk State. Is that correct, Rob? Norfolk State.
I thought that's what
I thought I saw, but Sacramento State was involved in that too.
Yeah. So I heard Sacramento State was trying to get into the Pac-12, and Vick was a target of theirs as having a large NIL bank, also a target of theirs, and it's looking. I pulled up Pete Thamel's report on it, that he is apparently Norfolk State. He's going to take the job there. They say they're finalizing a deal according to sources, so not official yet, but close to. But it's interesting. It does say in this article he's informed Sacramento State officials he's no longer in the mix for their head coaching position. Everybody knows he's from Virginia, went to Virginia Tech, so on and so forth. Doesn't really have any coaching experience that I know of. So I mean, this is straight down the prime path of, we're going to hire a celebrity and hope he can coach kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
Man, that's hey man, congrats to Mike Vick. I mean, if anything, he should be able to recruit. You know what I mean? Like he goes into these kids' living room and says, "Hey, I'm Mike Vick. I'm one of the pioneers for dual threat quarterbacks." Like, I mean, dog, that's
okay. I mean, listen, I'll bring up the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
You sure he's going to be able to go into living rooms and recruit? Because not every coach that walks into living rooms to recruit people has spent time in a federal facility. So,
well, true.
Well,
I'm just throwing it out there.
For the no, that's fair. For the kids he's recruiting, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was going to say that, one of the things, this is the direction college football in general is going now, with recruiting being such a major factor. If you're a small school, right, the big schools are going to eat you alive. You can't really hang anymore. Even if you're D1, if you're not, one of these huge major conferences and in major schools, there's not much you can do to get the players to compete, right? Especially with the NIL rules. So what do? You invest in a face and a name that people know, and that's going to help you right away, right? You're going to increase your reputation, bad or good, or otherwise, right? People are going to know the name of the school that Michael Vick that is coaching at, right? And that's huge for them. And that's really what it is for them. It's PR. It's a good move. Even if he can't coach, it's going to get them recognition and bring in kids that normally wouldn't have gone there one way or another, right? Sure, maybe you're right, Rob. Maybe one or two is like their parents get scared off because it's like, we know his history and
Yeah.
his past, right? And we don't want to send our kid to be coached by that guy. But at the same time, he's had some time since that incident to really revamp his image a bit. And I think he's done a pretty good job of doing that. And honestly, people, this is Trump's America, right? We elected Donald Trump. We could do anything, right? So the fact that this man was a felon and, went to prison for it, what he did doesn't matter in this United States of America. It's pretty much irrelevant. He's actually recovered from it and shown, like, cleaned up his image a bit and been in media and all that to kind of again
Yeah.
reputation.
Big fan of Mike, man. I hope it works out well. I can't wait to see what kind of quarterback he does recruit. Like, I think the world is going to be watching to see what it looks like,
So I think the most interesting part of it, like, let's give credit where credit's due to Coach Prime, because a lot of people like to talk about what he doesn't do as a coach. And I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. As when you have a college program, especially in today's world, you need more of a GM than a coach. And this is why I say, like, the Belichick move is not the same move as the Prime move. It's a little bit different, because I don't expect Dion to be in there grinding tape, making a game plan. I do expect Bill Belichick to want to be doing that. But what Prime did great and will continue to do great. My light just fell down. Will continue to do great is to surround himself with great people. So he will hire good people and he will let them coach. And that is an important thing while he's making sure that he gets NIL money and is recruiting and glad handing donors and all that kind of stuff. And all of that is still important. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of coach Mike Vick is. Is he going to do it like a Prime, where he hires some good people and lets them coach? Or is he going to do it like a Belichick, where maybe he's in the room making the game plans a little bit more?
That's a really, really good point. I hope he goes the Prime route. I think Mike's influence alone, I think, can be pretty beneficial, not only from an offensive standpoint, but just for kids growing up and kind of maturing. And I think it's great, man. I'm so happy that, like, black coaches like that can start to have an impact, and people are just being more receptive and open to the possibilities of having minority candidates as coaches, and forget that Rooney Rule shit.
Real quick on that, because I don't think it gets talked about very much. The Buffs had, I think it was 3 consecutive African-American head coaches before Prime got there. And I really do think that had a lot to do with Prime saying yes to Rick George and picking Colorado. Because it went both ways. He wasn't necessarily getting offered every job in the country, but he also did have some interest. And I think the fact that they had hired African-American head coaches prior to him had Prime thinking, this is a school where I can go and be welcomed. And it'll be interesting to see how that kind of trickles down as the success comes for Prime over these next couple of years, which I think it will. So,
hey, Anthony, what do you think about old Travis Hunter winning the Heisman, dog?
Oh, that's freaking awesome. I mean, I was so excited to see that, obviously going to school out in Colorado and now being back in New York, but seeing it from afar. I went through some rough years of Colorado football out there. So, it's just exciting. I've been following them, really all along, but, since they brought in Coach Prime and his son and then recruited, and this kid is damn good. And, one of the things that was talked about was that Coach Prime, as Rob said, he does a lot of things his own way. That's what I love about him, though. I want people to be themselves, right? And Coach Prime is not afraid to go in front of the camera and be himself, go into the coaching room and be himself, sit down with the parents of a student and be himself. And that what you're going to get with him, that's who he is, right? And seeing him being able to bring a kid in and say, is this what you want to do? Well, I'm going to show you how to do it the best way possible. I'm going to make you the best version of yourself playing both sides of the ball, and every other coach was probably like, yeah, we think you're going to be the best ever wide receiver to play at this institution, or the best ever cornerback to play at this institution, but not both. And Coach Prime, and obviously the player himself is talented. Hunter is pretty damn good. Now, where he goes in the NFL, I'm excited to see that as well. We know it's going to be in the top 5, so the Bills aren't sniffing that. But you know, he's going to be a fun player to watch. I've enjoyed watching him at Colorado. I've enjoyed the season at Colorado and the past, couple of years, and hope that success continues for everyone, for the coach, for the players, and whatever teams get them in the NFL. Same for Shedeur Sanders as well, right? Like, I hope he does well in the NFL. I don't know if we'll see where he ends up,
right?
Because there's a lot of interesting stuff there too.
Madison Smith, thanks for listening and watching the show tonight. Maybe someone looks at Teddy Bridgewater isn't his high school team in the championship, so we're shifting a little bit to the NFL. But real quick on Teddy Bridgewater, not only did his team get to the high school championship, they won the state title. They won it, and
they didn't just win it. Did you see what happened?
No, won it 40-0.
They outscored their playoff opponents. The total was like 265-14.
Wow.
And we're not talking about like in South Dakota. Like, this is in Florida. He won the state championship, and it wasn't even close. So, yeah, I do think he probably gets some looks, especially for some of those smaller schools in the South. I definitely think he gets some looks, and he might even jump to a big opportunity.
He said that he wants to play football again. It came out today, actually, this afternoon. He said he wants to.
Which is adorable. But
yeah, right. Yes.
Hey, wait, I do too. 31 years old, right?
DJ
I still have eligibility.
Also, DJ Uyunglele also entered the draft, and the draft has not entered him. So you know what I mean?
Well, there's that, Rob. You're right. You're right, Rob. That's also.
Are you going to tell me? You tell me DJU has a draftable grade right now?
No.
Get out.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't. I ain't gonna cap. He doesn't.
You almost did. You thought about lying right to our face.
Listen. I just wanted to, before I start talking shit, I just wanted to make sure that like, he ain't got a shot, bro. He's gonna be he's gonna get on some practice squad, and then that's about it.
If Tim Boyle can make it in the NFL, DJ Uyunglele can make it in the NFL, but he's going to have to go undrafted, go to a mini camp, make noise there, get signed to a practice squad. You know what I mean? Like, it is going to be a multi-year process if he's going to actually see
teams like
NFL
the Jets, the Colts, Raiders are being on that. Teams like that, Giants.
It'll be a multi-year process if he thinks he's going to make the field.
Hey, but who knows?
Hey, follow your dream.
Follow your dreams. All right, let's get to the Bills, man. So the Bills, listen, dude. First of all, what a freaking game that was, man. And, the Bills beat the Detroit Lions by 6 points, 48-42 in Detroit, mind you. To me, it felt like a preseason game. Did y'all get that feeling? Like, it didn't feel real. Like, a preseason game is like, the offense moved the ball with ease. It was just like, I didn't feel the energy.
That's a weird way to say that.
I know. But you know what I mean, though, right? Like, how like when Josh comes in the preseason game for his one series, he drives them down just like butter, like it's easy. They do their thing, they get off. I just felt like that over and over and over again. But he's making these plays, and I'm like, we've seen it all. We've seen it for 7 years. Like, this guy he's the best football player. He's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Best football player in the universe. And it's fun, man. So what are y'all's thoughts on the game? Rob, we'll start with you, Anthony, and you go next.
My thoughts on the game, they are at an unconscious level. I hope that carries through to the postseason. You and I, Sterls, have talked about if Josh Allen catches a groove like he did in 21, that's the kind of thing that makes this team unstoppable. And guess what? In the 2 weeks since we sat here and talked about that, he absolutely caught that groove. And now the thing is, how long can he stay hot like that for? And I hope it's into the playoffs, but we'll have to wait and see. You never know what's going to happen. The one thing that really came to mind when I was watching that was, did you hear Amari Cooper's name? Zero
Not
targets.
once.
Keon Coleman, I think, had 1 catch. Right? Curtis
Going
Samuel,
downfield.
I don't even think he got a target.
He got one catch to the right side.
1 catch, right?
In the red zone.
I say all that to say, when we were talking about this in the offseason, Sterls, and on the show, but also just like in private when we were talking about it, we talked about how if Diggs gets traded, it turns into Josh Allen's offense.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, Josh Allen's offense looks pretty fucking good, doesn't it? He has absolutely ascended as a leader. He's elevated his play because they knew they needed to have that. And he's absolutely answered the bell. And now you're seeing these all-time stats that people are tweeting out where this, 30 points for 8+ games hasn't happened since this. And, the touchdowns, rushing, passing, plus no sacks hasn't happened since that. And all that kind of stuff. And when they do that, they're showing these offenses, and the offenses are Randy Moss and Wes Welker, or Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker. You know what I mean? Like
right.
loaded with weapons. And then you put up Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid and Curtis Samuel, and he's doing it by himself. And that's not a knock on those guys. They're just not Hall of Fame level players. And I think that is what is most impressive about it. There's a lot to take away from that game, but don't lose how historic and incredible what 17 is doing is.
Yeah, I mean, just to build on some of that, what both of you said, really, Sterling, I don't know about preseason feel, but the way I would kind of summarize it is we've seen Josh Allen for 7 years. Nothing he does surprises us, right? It's just like, yeah, our quarterback can do that. We already knew he could do that. What's that? He could toss the ball backwards behind his back 150 yards and still get a touchdown. Yeah, we know he's capable of doing that, right? Nothing he does, literally nothing at this point could surprise Bills Mafia. But I will say what felt different about this game was we always get the sense with Josh Allen, this, the sugar high Josh, as we've called it through the years, or the anxiety of like, what could possibly happen? Like, oh my God, please don't get hit. Please don't put yourself in a bad position where you're going to get hurt. Please don't recklessly throw the ball into traffic, right? Now, none of that. No anxiety. It goes calmly. It's like, yeah, I'm hyped for the game. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. This game, I picked the Lions to win by a high score. Close game, but I picked the Lions to win. But what I saw coming out was exactly what I expected from Josh in the offense. 100% on point, doing what they do, moving the ball down the field. And it was just like par for the course. Now, of course, he does some amazing things that no other human beings can do, and no other football players for sure. And it's so fun to watch week in and week out. And I'm glad that the national media is finally starting to catch on to that. And not because for years, right, we've been battling this, well, he throws too many interceptions. And I kept telling those people the same thing over and over again. Go back and look at every single one of them. Yeah. Go back and look at the tape of every single one of them, and you will see that half of them aren't his fault, or half of them are pointless. End of half, I heaved it up, I threw an interception. Nobody cares, right? That doesn't matter. So, I mean, it's been frustrating over the years that they haven't seen it. I'm glad they do. But this game, the way it feels different, to your point earlier, Sterling, this season, it feels like they're finally putting it all together. Now, we did feel something like this in the 13 seconds year, right? If we remember back, it's hard to remember that because it ended so tragically. But that felt like, for the first time, we as Bills fans felt this is our year. We're going to win it all. We are seriously going to win the Super Bowl, and there's nobody going to stop us. Now, this year, even more so, I think there's still that still hangs over our heads. We all know we got to get it done in the postseason. But there's this confidence of Josh can get it done, and this team is still good enough, and we're better coached, we're better led than we ever were then. This team is a team. There's no doubting that part, with the Stephon Diggs removal and all that drama that went with that. But it's just exciting time to be a Bills fan, and that's what I keep telling people week in and week out. My friends who are not Bills fans have texted me the past 2 weeks and said, oh my God, that's one of the best football games I've ever seen. Yeah. Multiple friends who are fans of other teams texting me that for the past 2 weeks, or saying like, oh my God, Josh Allen. I had a Dolphins fan friend come to me, call me after the game and say, I hate that I'm saying this, but Josh Allen is my favorite player in the NFL right now because he's so fun to watch and is so good. It's amazing, right? Dolphins fans saying that.
And you remember, like, to your point, you're saying we've seen him do this all before.
Yeah.
This came to me while we were watching the game. I think there was a holding penalty. I think it was a holding penalty, and I think it was first down. And all of a sudden, it was 1st and 20.
Oh,
and I remembered like 15 years ago where that just meant
you're punting.
Over.
Yeah, you're punting.
Just punt it now.
Run, punt. Right, that's what run, punt. Right, like that's it. Run, punt.
And then the next play is a 20-yard gain to Dawson Knox.
First and
it's just
it was just easy. It was
you didn't even breathe. Like, it was just the easiest thing. To your point, Sterls, and your point, Anthony. It was just the easiest thing. 1st and 20, no problem.
No problem.
Give me 1st and 30, and we'll pick it up.
Yeah.
It didn't matter, and that's an amazing feeling to have.
You know what the most surprising thing about Josh Allen to me this year is his poise in the pocket. You know, we in the past and just evaluating this film, Josh had a tendency where he would evade the pocket all too soon. And, you know, you see the trust and the cohesion that he has with the offensive line. And now it's so deadly because he sits back he just sits in the pocket, and then he sees the rush, which buys him more time and flexibility to start navigating the pocket, step up, step out, scramble, throw. I mean, it's really a really welcome and nice thing to see. I don't remember the last time we've seen Sugar High Josh. Like, I don't remember it. He's just playing at an all-time level right now. Everybody's starting to notice and take notes of this stuff. But can
we dissect it for a sec, though?
Sure, go ahead.
Before you ask your next question, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But I do want to dissect it for a sec because I did think that very same thing. When was the last time we saw Sugar High Josh Allen? I don't know. Maybe you could talk about earlier in the season at Baltimore, but I don't really think that was Sugar High. I think that was desperate Josh Allen. I think it was a little bit different. But one thing I do want to ask you, Sterls, because I know you dive into the film a little bit, is it feels like to me this year when he's been at his best, he's been making decisions quick, getting the ball out of his hands, letting guys like Kincaid and Shakir and everybody else do what they do best, right? Get the ball in their hands, let them make plays. It feels like over the last couple weeks, he's waiting just a little bit longer and just a little bit longer. And when he got into that mode earlier this year, that's when he got into trouble, if you remember. So my question for you is, are you still seeing enough of the quick decisions that we're not worried that he might regress a little bit and be too much, I have to put the cape on? Or are we starting to say, maybe we got to get back to some of that quick game, that screen pass, that kind of stuff?
So this is what I look at it like. It's like being a point guard and having a bunch of 3-point shooters around you versus being, you know, a point guard and you have all these like dominant all-stars. Like Josh Allen comes up and he's got guys who can get buckets, and it's not the most flashy thing. I think there's a real marriage between the offensive line and the scheme. Like Brady is building all these answers for him in the offense, and you see it, you know. And it's the perfect. I'll tell you this: after watching Sunday, I'm convinced that Brady's a better offensive coordinator than Daboll. Just how he's taken an empty cupboard and turn these guys. It's very reminiscent of what Tom Brady had in New England. Like you didn't have you had Edelman, so you didn't really have like, you know, these household names necessarily. Gronk, obviously he was their guy, but like he took their talents and he's making the best of them. Like Ty Johnson, for instance, over 100 yards. Like that is a matchup. They knew that the Lions play a lot of base defense, so they're like, hey, guard him. You can't guard him. He's a quick, you know, third down back that can. He's a utility
base
back.
Defense and man to man.
Right, and so it's not like this system like where, you know, back in the day where it was Diggs, it was Davis. We got to get them the ball. It's to the point where it's like I'm calm. I'm cool. I collected. I trust my offensive line. I trust my offensive coordinator, and I trust the guys that are out here. So where they have so many different ways that they can beat you, it really puts the defense in conflict because he can the game plan changes every week. And I think that to me, man, that's a bunch of guys on the perimeter that could just hit threes. They don't have to be guys that can just run and you know that are going to dunk it with two hands on you. These guys are just they're Hoosiers. They're just playing. They're just doing their thing, man. And it's that's an offense right there, dude. It's just amazing. So to answer your question, yeah, man, like you know he doesn't have to have the quick trigger when you have all those other things working for you. You can kind of just survey the field and deliver it to the open guy, and that's what's making him successful.
Yeah, my take on that. So first of all, love what you just said, Sterling, because that's what I was preaching in the preseason, all off season, saying, look, now that he doesn't have a number one, this could be the best version of Josh because he's got a bunch of guys who are good that he is going to make great because he's that good, right? So and he's never had that before, right? We've had a one and a bunch of not so great things. Isaiah McKenzie, right? You know, not great. But now he's got guys who are legitimately good that he makes great. And that's part of an offensive success plan. And obviously they run the ball better, right? And to your point on Joe Brady, him being a better offensive coordinator than Daboll, I will say that he encompasses the entire offense better in my mind, right? The offensive line, the wide receivers, everybody out there is part of what is happening every play pretty much. And that feels cohesive and that feels like it leads to the success. Daboll's creative, right? Daboll is creative and that was his thing. And great. That's his thing. And he definitely did that well. And he could get the most out of the quarterback, but maybe some guys were left off. Joe Brady is a coach. He's going to be a head coach someday.
Yeah, it's
because he is very good at
it's the less is more principle.
Right.
Less is more. And,
right.
And they're using that well.
Well, but here's the thing with less is more, and this is what great coaches do, and you can see it when you watch Joe Brady. Daboll is very creative. The problem was when we got later in the season, he didn't morph it. We didn't get the next thing. It was one creative thing, and by the end of the season, it was old and stale, and you needed to have another wrinkle off of that. And if you just look at the long trap plays that the Bills were running all day versus Detroit, they ran them 4 different ways, and it was a different wrinkle each time, and it was unstoppable. James Cook scored a touchdown on it. That was Allen's walk-in touchdown. You just saw it again and again, but every time it was a different wrinkle and looked a little bit different, and I think that's where Joe Brady excels. I hope he can keep that up through the playoffs.
I think he can. And that was going to be my next question. Like, is there any reservation with you guys? I mean, we're seeing a historic run here with this offense, right? They got a chance to break a record this coming Sunday against the Patriots that got flexed for some reason. But is there any reservation about can they, keep this up? I do think, and Rob, we talked about this. They're playing their best football now at the right time. At least the offense is. I would say the defense is doing what they need to do. But what's y'all's reservation about the offense, or can it continue?
I mean, the good thing is the schedule right now, right? Because you've got New England, Jets, New England. So in my mind, when you ask that, I hadn't thought of it until now, but when you ask that, I look at that schedule and I say, well, we can do whatever we want. I fully expect the Bills to win all 3 of those games. Right? I don't think they're going to have to pull out all the stops or use something tricky in the playbook, but it's also a time to explore. Hey, we're playing the Patriots. We know we're going to win this game by 14. So if we want to try to do something that we might think about in the playoffs and we need to execute that now, great, we'll try it. But we could be as vanilla as we want to. Hand the ball up the gut, throw the ball to the X receiver on the outside, don't do anything creative and save it all for the playoffs. Now, I'm more of a fan of let's try it. Let's see what we're comfortable doing on the field and then execute that game plan into the postseason. But, the schedule is helpful in this case. And I do fully expect the Bills are going to, Josh Allen's going to break a ton of records this year just on, in terms of NFL, the consecutive 40 touchdowns a season thing, all that, right? He's just going to continue to set those records. And I fully expect the Bills are going to put up 30 on New England twice and on the Jets. So, yeah, I do think this historic pace for this offense is going to continue, and it's still going to look effortless, right? It looked effortless versus 2 really good teams in the Rams and then the Lions. Now it's going to look even more effortless, meaning we might not even have to pull out all the stops the way we did versus the Rams and the Lions to see the same type of results. Now, 47 points or whatever, I mean, that's asking a lot of a team. And we know what happens when the Bills go up big. This happens. I've been preaching that for the past 2 years as well, where it's like, you don't understand how good Josh Allen is, national media, because he sits out the whole second half, basically. He hands the ball off and he sits out the fourth quarter, literally. Last year, there was like a full game before half season where Josh Allen sat out. This year, there's been a full game of Josh Allen sitting his ass on the bench or just handing the ball off in the second half because we're up big, right? And that's probably going to happen down the stretch here. The other injuries also apply to that, right? Hey, you got a stub big toe. Well, you're out versus the Patriots because we don't need you here right now. And you can just rest that big toe and let's move on and deal with what we got here. Because we do have guys who need to get healthy and are, right? You want to ramp them up a bit. I said this when Matt Milano was activated too, right? You activate Matt Milano. We haven't seen the Matt Milano we all know and love at 100%. He's getting there, though. So when the playoffs come, he will be there, and that's going to be dangerous for the rest of the league. So I think that the schedule is just going to open things up for what the Bills want to do going into the postseason when it counts again. And hopefully now we still have a chance at the 1 seed with winning that game versus the Lions, and obviously the Kansas City being very beatable and still not finding a way to lose, but the injury to Mahomes maybe could help that.
Mahomes is playing, dog.
I know he is, but still going to play hurt. He's still going to. He hasn't looked good healthy.
We've seen this before.
He has not looked good healthy. Now you're going to put him out there hurt.
I'm just saying
he will lose. Then I hope he does.
Rob has a saying. Rob, would you care to share with our friend here what you say about Mahomes and Andy Reid?
The Witch and the Wizard?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I mean,
that's nuts.
Until we get a bucket of water and can throw it on the Witch and the Wizard, like we just, you don't know what you're going to get. I don't know that listen, Sterls has also been looking at me because as you've been so blustery, Anthony, talking about our next 3 games, I've already said on this podcast, don't sleepwalk here. Don't sleepwalk. Because if you do, that's how the Bills, in my opinion, that's how they get themselves into trouble. When they get comfortable and just kind of start sleepwalking through games, and then all of a sudden you're in a wild card playoff game against Skylar Thompson, desperately trying to win, right? Like,
yes,
you can't. I can't let.
But this team feels different than that, right?
It does.
Like, I don't expect them to just give up. I'm just saying it's going to look a little easier because the level of opponent is less than what they've gone through past couple weeks. I fully expect the coaching staff to have this team ready to go and to fire on all cylinders, right? You have to still game plan.
But that 21 team, and you made a great point, because that is the last time that it felt like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the only other time in my life that it felt like this, right? Like I had an abundance of confidence in 2020. But what I would say to people was, we can beat anybody and then take our chances with the Chiefs. You knew there was a roadblock there. 21 was the only other time you felt like, bring out all comers, bring them on. But the difference between 21 was when you went into the playoffs versus any other year that we've been good. When you went into the playoffs, you absolutely blasted in the wild card round. And think about your other wild card games. You almost lost to Indy. You knocked down a Hail Mary at the end. You almost lost to Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins. And you almost lost to, who was that, Mason Rudolph and the Steelers last year? I mean, come on, right? So the big thing for me, what I want to see in these playoffs and through these last couple games is don't sleepwalk. I want you coming out just blasting fools, and that will make me feel more confident if they show that they understand what's at stake here. And I think they do. I do. I'm not saying that I think they don't. I think Josh Allen, after all that heartbreak, very much knows what's at stake here, and you can say that for the other leaders on the team as well. So I just want to see from them that kind of, attention to detail as we go through these last 3 games and even the wild card round if they have to play it, Sterls.
Yeah, I think it's a very sustainable way of playing the game what this Bills offense has, just because I mean, it's not like it's crazy. He's just making these wild throws that have low percentage. I mean, he's playing smart football. And when you play smart football, it opens up the possibilities for you to be successful long term. And that's what we're seeing from this offense. We, like you mentioned, we saw glimpses of it early in the season when they were still trying to put the pieces together. We've seen Joe Brady mature as a play caller throughout the season against good defenses that he's had to go against. They're still producing at a great clip. So that to me gives me this confident feeling that this is going to continue throughout the playoffs on the AFC side, just because there's not a defense in the AFC that I'm worried about. Like the Broncos are good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But I from a matchup standpoint, I think the Bills can get them, and they use their running backs from the Chargers. If they, the Chargers are going to make it, the back end for them is just not their secondary is not that great. All right, so that's a win there. And don't get me started on the Ravens, right? So the Bills have shown, okay, they can take the punches with the defense. Like, you can get your points, but man, what he's playing with these players here, where there's no identity, wide receiver and running backs. I mean, it's crazy. It's scary. It's very Tom Brady Patriots. I know people hate that, but that's what they look like.
I do. Stop saying that.
I know what it is.
You know what it looks like? It looks like Josh Allen's Bills. That's what it looks like.
Yes, thank you. I love that, Rob, because don't get me started on how much Tom Brady got lucky from his teams winning.
But I will say this. The reason why I liken it to the Patriots is because the Super Bowls that they accumulated, because that's why I liken it that way. It's very much a Super Bowl caliber offense. So let's shift our attention to the defense before we get out of here. The defense, I mean, they looking at the box score, people who just look at it and say whatever. I'm totally fine with the defense and their performance this past week. I'm not even going to come in here and trip. And matter of fact, I wanted to bring up a comment from Daryl here. He said, "That's my dog." He says, "That version of Ed Oliver is what the Bills need for the rest of the season. They might not need to score 40 a game." You're absolutely right. The problem is he had 10 pressures. The problem is I don't think we're going to see that from Ed week in and week out. We haven't seen him. This is the first game this season where he's like dominated, which we wanted to see, but we're just now seeing it. So you guys' thoughts on defense? Rob, we'll start with you. Anthony, you go next.
Yeah, I mean, so it wasn't just Ed. Ed was the headline, and he ate Frank Ragnow's lunch more than one time. I'm talking bull rushed him over. And, McDermott was kind of joking about it, but he's like, hey, if you guys in the media want to piss him off every week, I'm not going to stop you. Yeah. So to me, it says a couple things. Like, one, was that just kind of floating through the season here? Knowing what's coming? Right? And maybe now we get it turned on, because it shouldn't take us in the media being like, that was a garbage performance versus the Rams, and you're better than that, for him to feel like he wants to come out and dominate. But all sins will be forgiven if he dominates like that for the next 8 weeks, right? Like, you do that for the next 8 weeks and all sins are forgiven. But it wasn't just him. Daquan Jones played better, had a couple good plays on the goal line, getting penetration, making a difference, right? Groot has been off and on all year. I think he's played pretty well. He had a good game too. Your backers are a little bit of a concern, and not because you're having problems there, but because Matt Milano isn't all the way back. I don't know that I agree with you, Anthony. I don't know that I see from him what I need to see. Now, we still need time. Again. Yeah, like, I'm not ready to call it on him, of course. Right. I'm just haven't seen it yet from him. And your guy, Sterls, and not my guy, Dorian Williams, has been playing great. And so my concern at linebacker is, do you have to?
Can you say that for the listeners again?
Yeah. Dorian Williams. And especially on Sunday, but Dorian Williams, since he has stepped back, a lot like AJ Epinesa, for some reason, when these guys get pressure taken off of them, all of a sudden their game elevates. And I think Dorian Williams' game elevated a little bit. And so now you got to figure out who you want on the field. Because I'm not saying Matt Milano can't get back to being Matt Milano, but in a wild card playoff game, is that where you're figuring that out? Well, you got 3 weeks to decide. And so I'm a little bit concerned about your linebackers in that case. I'm really concerned about the Rasul Douglas thing because he got hit in the ribs and it looked like it was going to be like a rib fracture. And all of a sudden he was on the injury report with a knee. So I want to know what's going on there because your corner depth, listen, Kyer Elam played pretty well, but, I am concerned about your corners. And then safety is a disaster right now, right? Like break glass in case of emergency was supposed to be Micah Hyde, and guess what? You might have to break glass. So I am a little bit concerned about this defense. I think, though, as we've seen with A.J. Klein and years past, if they need to scheme something up, they'll be able to. So I'm concerned about the defense, but I'm not overly concerned about the defense.
No, that makes total sense. I mean, yeah, man, we've been concerned about the defense all season long, right? With the injuries, is the first thing that comes to my mind. But I think Milano, obviously, he's not back yet. He's a tick in a day late on some of his processing. It's just not there yet. Will it get there? I don't know. I just don't know. And Rob, we've talked about this. I said, man, we might be having a conversation. I said this before he came back about how long are they going to, there has to be a casualty on this roster. Milano they might be considering,
They can't do that. Not next year, dog.
Maybe not next year, but his role, I mean, we just got to see, we need more tape to see where he's at and where he's going to be. I hope it turns around, but I think it's time to really start having a conversation about Dorian Williams, and maybe you play Dorian on early obvious rundowns, and then you have Milano come in on passing downs and stuff like that, just to kind of get the wheels turning again. But maybe he turns it around altogether.
That's dangerous because then you give offensive coordinators something to attack.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, I don't.
But
I think it's
different. Hold on, it's a little different just because it's a simple fact that Milano's not necessarily a liability in the run or the pass. I think he's fine. I just don't think he's all.
Go to the next guy.
Who are we talking about?
Yeah, you tell me Dorian's not a liability in the pass.
Dorian is he's a liability in pass. But what he offers you,
that's what I mean by saying.
I thought you were meaning that as for Milano, not Dorian.
No.
Yeah,
I think O coordinators would attack Dorian.
Would you platoon it then? We've seen the Bills do this. They kind of just switch the starters out. Switch at a position like that. I mean, I don't know.
This is where I think that they saw enough out of Dorian Williams while Milano was out. He played well. There's no question about that, right? We're all happy
he played okay
with how he did, right? I think he exceeded my expectations, and it sounds like Rob's as well. Maybe not yours, but he exceeded my expectations beyond belief, actually, I'd say. I was very worried about him being out there because we know how important Milano is to this defense. I think as soon as Milano was able to come back, they activated him because they committed to ramping him up for the playoffs and making sure that he's ready to go at full Matt Milano capability by then. So these next 3 games, I don't expect anything to change with that. Now, we don't know the extent of this injury that he had versus the Lions with his foot. I think it was, right, foot. So I don't know what happens there. But if he's healthy, he's going to play every snap because we need to see, exactly to both of your points, him be improving to the point of when we get to the playoffs, he's real Matt Milano at that point, right? And they committed to that by saying, we're activating him this game. And when we activating him, he's playing almost all the snaps. So, and I think that continues to move forward. The defense in general, though,
I think it's a groin, which
soft
tissue
tough.
injury like
that.
Yeah,
a groin?
Will make that tough, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. So the one thing with the defense, though, that, again, the talking point, I saw some clips from ESPN this morning and the other, talking heads in the national media, NFL Network. And what are they talking about? The Bills' liability is their defense. Oh, the defense is a liability. I'm like, are you unaware of what happened going into this game? 3/4 of our defensive backfield who starts was out. We were worried that the defensive backfield was going to be bad because that's not our defensive backfield. We were playing with all backup guys out there, right? Like, I mean, you can't expect it to be shut down or, bad or whatever, with 3/4 of your defensive backfield out with no practices this week, with no preparation really. And they played fairly well, actually, giving up 42 points or whatever it was. They played fairly well. Again, the whole defense, the defense as a whole this year, next man up, has filled in and done their job. Has it been, to an astounding level? No, but it's been very consistently good, and that's what we need. And the good thing about that is we haven't seen this defense at full strength and full health pretty much all year. I mean, when Milano came back, then, this guy's hurt. And now, Tuhill was playing more snaps because Smoot was out. Now Smoot's back. And, now it's becoming, I think, we're gelling and seeing this come together at the right time, right?
Yeah.
Again, guys are going to still rest because they can coming over these last 3 games if they truly need to. But we're going to see the defense become the best version of itself at the right time. And teams that win the Super Bowl, that's what happens to them. They gel at the right time. They could lose. I remember when the Giants were 8-8, I think it was, and they made the playoffs as a wild card. They won the damn Super Bowl. They beat the undefeated Patriots. Why? Because they were good at the right time. They built it up at the right time and hit their stride at the right time. This team has been hot all year, but we haven't seen them full stride on defense, at least. And now I think we will at the right time. With all those guys healthy and on the field, even if they're not playing 100%, say Matt Milano isn't quite the Matt Milano we know he can be going into the playoffs. If he's playing with the 2 starting safeties that we've been playing with, who have been playing well, the 2 starting cornerbacks, the defensive line at full health, because we finally saw going from the Rams game to the Lions game, how much having the right guys in there can change that, right? I think that starts with Smoot, and getting Tuhill out of there. He was one of the casualties today of the changes. I'm happy with that. So
Yeah.
I think this team is going in the right direction, the right way. And the talking heads, again, in the national media, they failed to even mention that. I didn't hear once, the Bills had injuries where 3 of their starting defensive backs,
Man, I don't care what
safeties and a
those
corner.
dudes. I
I'm
don't
like,
care what those dudes
but
say,
they're
man.
just stupid, is my point. Like, look at the paper. It tells you who's out. Like, they're out. Of course it wasn't the Bills' good defense. Those guys weren't
Let me tell you
playing.
this. I think that Casey Tuhill move. Now I get, I think it's a shout out to Javon Solomon and what they think that he can be.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he offers you more as a pass rusher. There's no question there, and I think he gives you a little bit more in setting the edge. I love the trajectory. I've been a big fan of him this whole season. I just want to see more of him, and I know it's a learning curve and so forth. But man, he had a couple good reps against the Lions there. So yeah, man, Casey Tuhill, thank you, thank you for the time and the memories. But you got to go.
Careful. Don't talk bad about your ex because he might end up on your
Yeah, he's going to be on the practice squad.
That's fine. He can come back to the practice squad. I'll tell you who I was really impressed with was Cole Bishop. I was really impressed with his game on Sunday. He's definitely.
I don't know if I go really impressed.
I was impressed. Why. Well, just because he was so bad at Houston. He was so bad,
So that's funny because it's the same conversation that Anthony was trying to say about Dorian Williams. Like, do I think he's been great? No. Has he been better than I expected?
Yeah. I think like what I was more impressed with Cole was just how his aggression when he played in the hole. When he was down by the line of scrimmage, I thought, man, that really looks like what we saw at Utah. Like he just played it really well. There was one run where he came in, fit the run so well, hit the guy at the line of scrimmage. Man, I thought that's beautiful. Like that's what I want to see. I don't know, man. I would like to see that. Maybe him split some time with Hamlin, and it's just kind of in certain situations and stuff. But I would like to see more Cole Bishop. So. The defense, I think, will be fine. There is a little bit of concern. I mean, if they can keep taking the ball away, I'm cool. Like, you can let these people run up and down the field. I don't care. But if you're taking the ball away, like they have been this season, it gives me a little bit more comfort.
That's a luck stat, though.
I know it's so is. But what else do you have to? I mean, what else do you have to hang your hat on? Just because we know the defensive line is going to be inconsistent. And I think that'll be the downfall of this football team is that defensive line this season. If Josh Allen, I mean, we saw Josh Allen throw up almost 50 points against the what do you call it, the Rams, and still lose because he's just getting gashed on defense. Now that was a one of their worst performances ever, but there needs to be more consistency from the defense. But I think it's fine. Right? If you have an offense rolling at that high octane and your defense is that, I'll take that any day. I'm good with it.
For the Cole Bishop point, just real quick, what I saw from him, and this is the opposite of what I've talked to you about with Dorian. What I saw from Cole Bishop is him seeing it. And it gives me a lot of hope for his future because he was always that really aggressive safety, right? Think Troy Polamalu. Now, he's not going to be to that level.
Right, no, I know what you mean.
Get up there and make a play, right? Not just be a middle field safety. And
trust what you see and go.
And you can see him starting to figure that out, right? It's like watching a baby deer walk for the first time,
Yep.
So I don't think he's quite there yet, but he looks like a baby deer falling around on the field for me. I'm willing to give him some time, but that was my thoughts on Cole.
Dorian is very much see ball, get ball, and he always has been, and
problem is he doesn't see the ball enough for me.
Hey, man.
Well, and the other issue with the two guys you're talking about, my whole point on Cole Bishop, when we picked him, I was like, look, I'm excited. This is a good player. He's got potential, but you picked him way too high. You picked him. You put the pressure on this kid by drafting him that high. We know that McDermott can turn an undrafted guy into a legitimate starting safety or cornerback, right? Both of those positions he coaches well. So we know he can do that. Now, why did you waste a second-round pick on a safety? He better be a damn all-pro like next year. Like not today maybe, but he better be an all-pro next year because you used the second-round pick on him. This wasn't like, oh, we waited, we got him in the third, fourth, we can develop him, he can grow. You put the pressure on him to succeed. So although, I'm like, oh, hey, he played decent, I'm not content with that. That's not good enough for Cole Bishop or for the Buffalo Bills at this point.
Man.
Now he has to get better. Again, the bar, I didn't set that bar. I would not have drafted him there. They did, and that's what the statement they made. This guy's an all-pro in his second year, or we should not have done that.
I don't know.
Because you don't pick a
Anthony.
safety. You don't pick a safety in the second round.
Well, hold on. Let me defend Sean McDermott real quick, just because this defense, in my opinion, is a back end to the front. Like there's so much responsibility that the safeties have. Like trying to give that to a rookie right now, I mean, that's drinking water through a fire hydrant. So
Agreed.
I don't know. I don't think all pro next year, but I do think he'll have more of an impact. Like
Sure.
I think he'll be able to be more comfortable and have some say in whether he's calling defense, getting people lined up where they need to be, etc. So that's what I want to see for him next year. I do think he has ability to make plays, but he's got to learn the defense, and I just don't think he's all the way there. I mean, he's a rookie.
He's still a rookie. Rookies, you got to give him a little bit of leeway there, and I do. But again, you put him out there when you need him, and was that worth a second round pick? So far, the answer is no, and nobody could argue otherwise.
Yeah, that's a pretty premium pick where you could have done some other things too. So
and all those other rookies are contributing. Those other rookies are contributing.
That aggressiveness at the college level too doesn't always translate to the NFL. Like,
Jamal
Adams, was the first name that I thought of too, right? Like, and he was an incredible player and still a decent football player.
Mm-hmm.
Should have started playing linebacker sooner, probably, right? But that doesn't. It's hard to make the mind move that quick where you can translate that to the NFL, and it's just a crapshoot as to if they'll be able to figure it out or not. Mm-hmm. There's no way I don't think that you could really know. So you hope that he starts to figure it out. That's why I said like baby deer. You could see him seeing things, and hopefully he can process them fast enough that he can make plays in the next couple of years here.
All right, so we're running out of time here. I ask you one last question. How do you like that uni combo this Sunday, man? The red jersey and the white pants, like, and the red socks. That's hard. Like that's real tough. I like that. I like that uni combo. Rob, you just look so disinterested in what I just said, bro.
Burn it.
You don't like it.
I fucking hate it.
Why?
I
You're
do
such a
not
hater.
like it.
You are such a
I hate
hater.
it.
Why
I
you
hate
hate
it.
Wow.
it? Ain't
I
nothing
hate
to
the
hate.
all red, and I hate the New England Patriot wannabes. Yeah,
Oh, man.
Anthony and I were talking about it ahead of time. It's been on Twitter everywhere. You can go look at my tweets from DBB. The first thing anybody thinks about when they see that uniform is, oh, that's the New England Patriots throwback, right?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why?
Yeah. And the worst part is you're playing the New England Patriots. You're wearing their jersey against that team. Like, what? Look,
Dog.
I can get with the red. I'm like, okay, red. I bought a Josh Allen red jersey just because I was like, okay, I've got a white one. I had a blue one. I needed a red one. I bought the Josh Allen red
Launch
last
it into
year.
the sun.
But it's not my favorite color combination. Like I don't think of that jersey when I think of the Buffalo Bills, right? It's mostly the blue ones you see there, although I do have a red one in the middle.
No swag.
But, this red and white, the first time I saw it, I'm like, okay, but you're debuting that. You're debuting it. You've never worn this color combination before. You're debuting it against the one team who has those colors and looks those jerseys from, like you said, their throwback version of their jerseys. You couldn't wear that against the Lions, who don't have any significant colors like that. You couldn't wear that against the Rams, who also don't have significant colors like that, or any other game where it doesn't look like their jersey. I probably would have been like, okay, we'll see how this translates. Yeah, okay, I can get with that. It's not my favorite, but the fact that they're wearing it against the Patriots just infuriates me. It's like, are you dumb? You're wearing their jerseys on their field? I don't like it at all for that reason. And bring back the damn red helmet. Sick of the excuse.
That would be nice.
Let
me make one thing crystal clear to Daryl. If they waste bringing back the red helmet on a red uniform, I'm going to set Ralph Wilson Stadium on fire.
I'm with you, Rob.
If you don't wear that with throwback 90s Bills jerseys or an all-white combo, if you waste that on the red, I will burn Ralph Wilson Stadium to the ground. Okay? So just wanted to say that.
I'm with you, Rob. 100% with you on that.
Yeah,
red with a red helmet with that?
Dog, I think it's fire. No pun intended. I like it, man. But I like swag too. Like, I like it to be a little different. It's a different look. I feel like this is a different football team. Their mindset is a little different. It is good vibes, man. So yeah, wear that red helmet and them red socks like that, bro. I just think it's just too clean. It's too freaking clean.
Listen, if it makes Josh Allen happy, it makes me happy. Happy Josh Allen, happy life.
Hey.
That's what I say.
maybe we should attribute everything to Haley Steinfeld.
That's right. She's part of it, man. Happy Josh.
Hey, well, Anthony, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you, what you got going on the rest of the week?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's always fun to come chat with you guys because we're friends first, right? That's what counts more than anything, and it's always good to come talk it up with you. But yeah, you can find me on the Hoof Podcast still. Over on Built in Buffalo. Eric and I go live on Thursday nights, usually around 7:30. Might have to push it back occasionally, but that's what we aim for these days. And we give you, our breakdown of the week before and what's to come with the Buffalo Bills and make our picks around the NFL and talk a little bit around the NFL as well. So come tune in with us, and you can find me at my handle there at Anthony Romeo NY on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on all the social medias. So yeah. Love to chat, and we'll always respond if you send a message.
Well, hey man, it was nice having you, dog. It's nice to chop it up. Love the Hoof Podcast. Remember the early days of being in the basement, in the living room. I mean,
Eric's garage. Remember
in the garage, cold ass garage, man, doing this thing. So, yeah, man, it's just been a long time. Love you, dog. Good to see you, bro. We'll definitely have you on during the playoffs for sure. We'll get Eric in here so we can argue. And then make sure you guys are following Inside the Trenches right here on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. This is your boy Sterls for the girls. We got Anthony Romeo NY and Rob T Radio, and we up out of here. Peace.
Go Bills.